All right, man. It's your boy back again with another video. It's been quite a long time. I really don't do videos anymore, but one of my subscribers actually requested this a couple months ago, actually, and I'm only just now getting around to it because your boy been busy. And I needed to wait for some stuff and some time to go by, do a little bit of research and everything before I actually got this done. Because a lot is going on, both in my personal life and the Lonzo Ball saga. But we're gonna go ahead and get this one out to you. Um, so, as the title of this video is self-evident, is what do I think about the Cavs and Lonzo on the team? Um, okay. If you've been here for any length of time um, during the COVID era, you already know how I feel about Kenny Atkinson. Just to do a brief refresher, he was my coach to replace Alvin Gentry. He was the guy. It was him and the other guy's name. I'm drawing a blank on right now. I can't remember the other coach's name, but Kenny Atkinson was at the top of my list. He was top two coaches um, to replace Alvin Gentry on the Pelicans back when Lonzo was on the Pelicans, and I did a whole video giving my opinions about that and outlining his motion strong offense and why I think it would have been beneficial to the Pelicans. And I still stand by my sentiments from then, even now. But what does that have to do with Lonzo and Cleveland? So here's the thing. My opinion of the Cleveland team is very low. Like I get it, they had high winning season. I think they won like 60 plus games last year. Um, yeah, if I'm gonna be honest with you, I do not like Donovan Mitchell nor Darius Garland like that. I just don't. I'm sorry. Um, I've been a longtime hater of Donovan Mitchell. And I guess you could call it hating for telling the truth, but if you know me, I don't like small guards, right? I can deal with maybe one if you got, especially if they try on defense and you got a bunch of good defensive pieces around it. I can make that work, which is why I have less of an issue with Brunson in New York. But you got two of them. Garland is like 6 foot even, and Mitchell is 6'2", maybe 6'3", and he's a shooting guard. So I've also did a video compiling the average heights of NBA players per position, and he is definitely undersized. So is Garland. They're both undersized. So you got two undersized guards in the backcourt, one of which plays Lonzo's position. And that's it, right? They don't really have anything else off the bench. In fact, I don't really care too much for their bench. I'm just going to go ahead and get that out the way. There's a couple guys there who are decent, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, if you're expecting a bunch of bench video talk, this is not going to be the video. I'm not going to do that. I really don't care. But that's really all they got. And Donovan Mitchell's lead scorer. He's all their firepower. So he has to get touches. And it's not to say that he doesn't have offense, because he does. It's just, the effort and the difficulty for him to get that offense off is far less than, say, like a Kevin Durant. And you might be like, well, of course, Kevin Durant's like 6'10". Whoop de fucking do. Okay, Luka, who's like 6'8", 6'9". We can keep going. Anthony Edwards, who's like 6'6", 6'7", in that range. It doesn't have to be someone at the height. These are all also. Yes, that's the point. These are the guys he's expected to go out and duel every game. They're all taller than him. Makes it a whole lot easier to see over the court and make plays, right? And he's not the greatest playmaker to me. Now, some people be like, oh, if you go look at the analytics and stuff, yada, yada, yada. Look, I get the analytics. I don't really care, okay? There's something to be said to be someone who has to make the play where you have to look over the entire defense versus you can't really see over everybody and see all the nooks and crevices and hit those passing lanes, okay? And his defense is, undersized, so who can he really guard? Like, maybe you could put him on a point guard or something and he gives effort, then yeah, that's fine. But he really can't guard his position unless they're like close to his height. If he's playing against like a Drew Holiday or something, okay, fine. I ain't got no problem with that then. But everybody else, like Anthony could just shoot over him. Just rise up and shoot. Like, who cares? 3 inches isn't significant. Pause. But, it leaves a lot to be desired. Darius Garland, he can score a little bit, but he's primarily a facilitator. But he's undersized too. He's not really expected to guard anybody. So your backcourt in total is already compromised defensively. And I don't want to say that they're one-dimensional, but they kind of are. Like, yes, Donovan Mitchell can score in a myriad of ways, so his offense isn't one-dimensional. But outside of what I'm looking for as a person that likes versatility, I don't really like that. And that leads us to small forward. DeAndre Hunter. Now, I've had my eyes on him since the Hawks days and wanted him to get more looks and touches. And he made his way to Cleveland. I like him, but I'm not sure if he is the guy for the small forward position. We're going to have to, look at that, because I know I was reading that Kenny Atkinson had approached him about being the full-time starter, and he said yes. I mean, who wouldn't, right? But we're going to have to see how this works with the rest of these guys. Now, he does play defense, so that's something to, help in regards to the totality of the team itself, especially with your backcourt, and especially as it pertains to Zoe. But other than that, man, I don't really have much to say about it. I'm going to have to see how he plays with these guys, where he's going to look to get his shots, and ultimately how Kenny Atkinson is going to use him along with the rest of them to try to get these teams to more wins, or get this team to more wins, I should say. But next, that brings me to Evan Mobley. And if I'm going to be honest, my interpretation of this season goes as far as he goes. I get it, there's some times where he hasn't shown the best flashes on offense, but the defense is there. You can count on him for about 9 rebounds a game. Would like to see that go up to about 11 or 12. But I'm going to tell you right now, if he pops on offense, and by pops, I don't mean he has to go get 27 a game. But if he can get 24 a game, and he can still get you 9, 10, 11 rebounds, again, prefer to be around 11 or 12. He's a solid passer, especially in the post. If he gets that 24 points a game mark, the Cleveland might actually have something. And it's going to start some conversations in the near future. And some agendas are gonna have to get broken up here. That's all I'll say about that. But this team goes as far as he goes. I just think he's the best talent, the best pure talent on the team. He's what, 6'10", 6'11", so he can pretty much shoot over most guys in the league. If you're gonna put someone on him, it's gonna have to be a center, and he's gonna be a little bit faster than most centers. So he should be able to get by them. He's a tall body for, Garland or anybody else to check out of, or in the pick and roll and things. Like, he's a phenomenal player. Like, everything about him on the numbers just sticks out at you. But it's that offense that hasn't been quite there. But he looks very confident from what I've seen, looking at the training camp videos. And if he actually can take that bump to that next level and become a consistent scorer, you are talking about someone that has the potential to take Cleveland from being like a second round team to like these guys could literally go on a deep run and maybe make a push for the championship. But it really depends on Evan Mobley. Like, he has to bring it. He must bring it. There's no, like, he's what, 22, 23, 24, somewhere in there? If he does not come with it, I don't see how this team is anything different than what they were last year. Granted, Indiana don't have Ty this year, and a couple other teams have made some moves and some places and stuff, so there's likely to be some shifts as far as, like, who's the big players here. And I get it, people are going to be like, well, they got a chance now to actually win the title because blah, blah, blah. Well, they had a chance to win the title last year and the year before that if they played well. But, we ain't got time to worry about if they play well. But it depends on Mobley's play this year for me. That's going to dictate to me whether this is a team to take serious or not. And now we're going to move to Jarrett Allen, the center. Look, I've liked Jarrett Allen for a long time, and I think this goes back to the Evan Mobley thing. I think some very uncomfortable conversations are going to be happening if Evan Mobley pops. And the reason for that is you have to maybe consider running some lineups without Jarrett Allen out there, which would open up, potential for certain other players that wear the number 2 to get out on the court a lot more. Hint, hint. But outside of that, I think and I know I'm talking more about Evan Mobley here, but if he pops and he's still got the defensive goods, can Mobley be your starting 5? If he's your starting 5, can you trade Jarrett Allen for better pieces? Maybe get another power forward in there, like another solid bench piece. I think they really need a solid scorer off the bench. If they could get a very good scorer off the bench, I think you're looking at something with Cleveland. I know they got Killian Hayes on the team, and he's like another defensive guard, another tall defensive guard or whatever, but I think it's going to be an uncomfortable conversation. Now, actually talk about the goods with J.A. Look, the guy, he's a Skywalker, essentially. I don't mean that like, oh my God, he's just the greatest jumper. But he's tall and long. And so he can jump over guys and get dunks and get putbacks. He's a nice outlet in the pick and roll for guys. You get in the pick and roll and he runs to the rim. You pass to him, he's going to get you 2 points. He's a very good rebounder, shot blocker. He's going to put himself in the way to deter shots. So between him and Mobley being a pseudo Twin Towers, it's part of the reason Cleveland might actually win more games. Like, that's why they have won. Between the small guards, they kind of mitigated it, but you get exposed in the playoffs along with Cleveland having a bunch of issues, but, we'll put that to the side. Like, the front court isn't the problem. If you tell me Hunter, Mobley, and Jarrett Allen, you can do a whole lot worse than that. That's a pretty solid front like front line. To be honest with you, you know, even even like if I'm gonna be fair, if you gave me Mitchell or Garland and gave me like another solid, tall defensive piece, I wouldn't have any. Oh wait, you do give me a solid defensive piece. Let's transition to, no pun intended, Lonzo Ball. Yes, guys, Lonzo Ball, if you've been living under a rock, has been traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And before I made this video, it was explained that he's probably going to be averaging 20 to start off with, which is kind of disappointing, but at the same time, given how he still got hurt last year and he was doing 20 up until he got some more minutes, even though it was a wrist, I can somewhat understand. And it's a little deflating for me, but, we back to 5-minute quarters here, even though we just left Chicago. Having said that, Lonzo Ball, 6'6", plays defense, versatile as all get out, can shoot the ball, can rebound, can pass. We know what the guy is at this point. The league knows what he is at this point. And as per usual, they sit there and say, oh, Lonzo Ball turns heads. I mean, we hear this every year. It's the same stuff with Zoe. Every year. Even down to the injuries. It's like clockwork. But I will just say, I think your best lineup is going to be some amalgamation of either benching Garland or benching Jarrett Allen. Now, that's if we're basing the team off of last year. If Evan Mobley jumps to that next level, maybe we might have to start taking a look at some guys on the bench like Larry Nance. And I know I said I wasn't going to talk too much about the bench, but maybe you play Nance at power forward and you have Lonzo in and you have Mobley, you got Hunter, and that's a lot of defensive versatility to cover up your spots on the court from your guards, and you can't take out Mitchell. Like, I feel like no matter what, you can't take out Mitchell, but I feel like to some degree, Lonzo can approximate some of Darius Garland, minus I think Garland is the better offensive player, but I feel like you would get a much better lineup that way. You could put Mitchell on the point guards, and if you don't want to put him on the point guards, that's fine. You can stick Lonzo there and maybe put Mitchell on a 3-and-D guy, but when they start hunting, you're going to have to guard your matchup. But I think let's talk more about Zoe here for a minute. I'm getting a little carried away. Look, this is the first time Lonzo has had a real defensive piece or pieces behind him since like the JaVale days. And you got, maybe that's a good, I think Jarrett Allen isn't quite as athletic as JaVale. But you're going to give Lonzo, Mobley, and Hunter, who can guard their positions, Jarrett Allen, who can guard his position. You got 3 guys back there who can guard, so he's not going to have to go guard Julius Randle all game or something like that. He could literally be a point of attack defender. He could funnel the whoever into those guys, and then he can make the plays. I think defensively, you're going to see Zoe on another level when he's with the starters. Now, the bench, yeah, I'm not feeling the. I'm just, yeah. The bench pisses me off. I'm not even going to front you guys. I'm not going to try to pretend that I love this bench. I don't. I'm not in love with this bench whatsoever. Some of you guys are going to be like, hey, we got this guy, and they're not bad and stuff. And I understand. I'm not saying that these guys, are bad per se. Except, well, there's some guys who are terrible on that bench. I'm not going to lie. But what I am going to say is, like, I'm trying to think of the guy. Is Jordan Clarkson? I think that's his name. It was in Utah, right? Used to come off the bench, 6 man a year candidate. If not one, 6 man would score. They need somebody like that on the bench. With the pieces that they have, like a Thomas Bryant and things, and Larry Nance, and you got Lonzo, I think if you got like another scorer off the bench, like a real like candidate for 6 man a year, can put the, ball in the hole, a Lance Stevenson, somebody that can get out there and can play some offense off the bench. Because what that does is you now can actually rotate 5 guys out or 4 guys out, and everybody can still play their position for the most part. And you also get an opportunity to change the style of play a little bit as well. Because Darius Garland and Lonzo Ball are 2 different kinds of point guard stylistically. And you got an opportunity to play a more half-court, slower pace with the starters, and then you got a chance to ramp it up with the bench. So if your starters can get the lead, you can send in Zoe in that unit, and they can come put some pressure, because Zoe's going to be better than most bench players in the league. So him running the offense, they're bound to go on runs. That's going to put a lot of pressure on the opposing team. Opposing team might have to sub in their guys a little bit sooner to come and try to get that under control. But by doing so, you're tapping their stamina for the second quarters and the fourth quarters. And so that would make for a pretty good situation for your starters. If you can go ahead and get a situation where Lonzo and the bench unit can actually get some runs, you're forcing other teams to have to play their guys longer, which means with less stamina, that may make the defense of Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland a little less bad. What if, okay, I'm sitting there and I'm having to run and run and run. I know NBA athletes, especially top tiers, are elitely conditioned. Elitely, I don't even know if that's a word. But if some of those guys are tapped by the time of the fourth quarter and they can't really play their defense well, maybe somebody that Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell couldn't guard becomes a little bit more manageable. And that's kind of what I'm looking at with this team. I mean, not to say that you couldn't throw Lonzo in with the starters, he could do the same, but I'm looking at the long term of this. Like, this is a team that got to the second round, and I think they got to the second round the year before that too. So we know they can get there, but it's getting to the conference finals and getting that little extra push. When the injuries start adding up, especially to someone that gets injured like Zoe, but if you can preserve him and the others, and you can get the minutes off the other guys, which maybe saves them from having to get hurt, you're going to be in a very good situation. Because the worst thing you want to do is have someone that can take over the game, come off the bench, and start running guys out. Even if Cleveland doesn't get the lead to start, if Lonzo can come in and put in some pressure, that still gives the guys a chance to recoup a little longer, get their win back, and come out there and make some plays. And then maybe they can take the momentum that those guys build and go and win some games. That's the way I look at it. I'm not necessarily... Look, Lonzo to me isn't going to be the player anymore that we thought he was. And I know a lot of y'all don't want to hear that, but this is just what it is. It's out on him. He's what, 27 now this year, 26, 27? You know, they're playing him 20 minutes. This is who he's going to be. He's going to be, unless somebody gets hurt, he's always going to be the guy to come off the bench, the first, substitution, and get the point guard and get whoever, and play in stint minutes like that until someone gets hurt. And that's really no fault of anybody but himself, because he couldn't stay healthy. It happens. So this whole, okay, he's going to come in and probably put up 17, 9, and 7, that kind of stuff, that dream sailed, right? Maybe when he's a starter because someone is out and they can't, maybe you got an opportunity for him to do some stuff like that. But, I mean, to be honest, his last chance was Chicago, and we know how that ended. So I'm just going to keep it real. This team could win 60 plus games. Hell, they already won 60 plus games, I believe, last year. They got an opportunity to repeat that level of success, but it doesn't matter how many games they win in the regular season if they don't show up in the playoffs. And that's ultimately what this team should be judged on, is the playoffs. So I expect them to easily be 50 plus wins, maybe 60, and be a high seed in the playoffs. After that, it's just a matter of if they can stay healthy and who the matchups are with them, because there are going to be some teams that they do not want to see in the postseason, for sure. So, with that being said, I hope y'all liked the video. It's been a while, but I had to make sure I take care of my subscribers, for asking. So I apologize for taking so long. Like I said, your boy been dealing with some stuff. Had to tie the knot a couple months ago and moved on, different jobs and stuff. It's a lot, man. Your boy been doing a whole lot that you guys aren't privy to. But man, I love y'all. I hope y'all all having a good day and everything's good for y'all. Y'all take care. Peace.